It was 8:43 p.m. when Officer Alex Walker finally kicked off his boots after a long day patrolling the streets of Cedar Heights, a quiet suburb outside of Austin, Texas. The TV flickered in the background, and the scent of leftover barbecue still hung in the air. He hadn't even changed out of his uniform when his phone rang. It was Linda Mason, his neighbor from across the street. Sweet older lady. Baked cookies for the block every Christmas, and kept her porch light on all year. But tonight, her voice was shaky. "Alex, I hate to bother you, but I think something's wrong at your house." Immediately, Alex stood upright. "What do you mean?" Linda hesitated. "There are 2 men in your driveway. I saw them enter through the side gate. Then your wife let them in." "My wife?" His tone sharpened. "I know it's none of my business, but she hugged one of them. Looked too friendly to me. I just thought you should know." The line went silent for a moment. Alex's thoughts spun. Hannah? Hugging 2 men? At night? When she said she'd be working late at the clinic? His pulse kicked up. He muttered a tight "Thanks, Linda," grabbed his keys, and stormed out the door. Cedar Heights was only 15 minutes from downtown, but in moments like this, the streets felt like a maze. He gripped the steering wheel harder than necessary, staring ahead, the red haze of suspicion clouding his judgment. Was this it? The late-night text she always dismissed. The locked phone. Her odd mood swings. All the time she canceled dinner plans last minute. It all suddenly made too much sense. He didn't want to believe it. But he also didn't want to be the last fool to find out. As he pulled up to his own driveway, he didn't switch off the engine. Instead, he parked a block away and walked toward the house, sticking to the shadows. The familiar creak of Linda's porch light behind him felt eerie this time. She peeked from behind her curtain, eyes wide. Alex saw the black SUV parked near his garage. Not Hannah's. Definitely not. He reached for his radio. Unit 34 requesting support. Potential unauthorized entry. Suspect count, 2 males. Occupant, female, possibly in distress. Address, 1450 Elmwood. He kept his voice cold. Professional. Copy that, 34. Back up en route. Alex knew Mark would get there in 5. Maybe less. But he didn't want to wait. Not tonight. He moved quickly along the fence, toward the side gate. It was unlocked. Strange. Hannah was meticulous about locking it, especially after the break-in on Pine Street 2 weeks ago. Inside, lights were on. Music played, something low and jazzy. Not Hannah's usual style. He pulled his sidearm, standard protocol, but this time it wasn't just police instinct. It was personal. He wasn't about to be humiliated in his own house. Just as he reached the back door, a voice rang out inside, male, laughing. Then another. Laughter. Glass clinking. His heart thundered. He inhaled sharply. Time slowed. Every training scenario he'd ever had rushed back to him, but none of them prepared him for this. He turned the knob. Unlocked. He counted to 3, pushed the door open, and stepped inside. Alex stepped into the kitchen like a ghost, silent and sharp. The scent of lavender candles hit him first, Hannah's favorite. Their soft glow flickered from the living room, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. He crept forward, gun lowered but ready, ears tuned to every sound. Voices. Laughter again. He edged around the corner and froze. Through the half-open archway, he saw Hannah sitting on the couch, laughing. 2 men sat across from her, both casually dressed, no weapons, no signs of danger. One of them leaned back, sipping a glass of red wine. The other gestured with his hands as he spoke, animated and relaxed. Hannah looked radiant. Relaxed? Like she was entertaining old friends. But Alex's heart was still pounding. He stepped back into a hallway, lowered his weapon, and pulled out his phone. He needed a second set of eyes. This situation, whatever it was, had to be real. Had to be verified. He called Mark. "Yo, Walker. I'm 2 blocks out. What's the sitch? They're inside. 3 of them. She's acting like it's normal, like they're just hanging out. You sure there's a threat? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Linda swore something shady was going on. Mark sighed. Want me to roll up and knock? Play dumb? Alex glanced at the scene again. Hannah had stood up, now pouring wine into a third glass. No. Let's do this clean. He quickly circled around to the front yard and positioned his car behind the SUV. He wasn't letting anyone leave without answers. As he finished the block-in, Mark's cruiser pulled up without sirens. Subtle. Just like they'd agreed. Together, the 2 officers approached the house from opposite angles, using radio silence. Alex gave the signal, 3 fingers, 2 taps on the shoulder. They moved. Alex knocked on the door, loud enough to be heard but calm enough not to raise suspicion. A pause. Then footsteps. Hannah opened the door, blinking in surprise. Alex? She asked, brows knitting. What's going on? He stepped inside, eyes scanning the room. The 2 men were still on the couch, startled now, beginning to rise. Who are they? He asked her, voice low and firm. Hannah looked over her shoulder, confused. My brothers. Eric and Jason. You've met them before. Alex's pulse stuttered. He stared at the men. The taller one, Eric, nodded. We flew in from Denver, Eric said. Surprised her for her birthday. She didn't think you'd be home this early. Alex's mouth went dry. Hannah folded her arms. What is this? Why are you here with your gun? Mark stepped in behind him, eyes narrowing. False alarm? Alex felt 100 pounds heavier. Linda. That call. The warning. The assumptions. All of it unraveled in seconds. I thought, he muttered. You thought I was cheating? Hannah's voice cracked, eyes wide with disbelief. Is that why you brought backup? You thought I was unfaithful? She looked shattered. I got a call, he said defensively. Someone said there were strange men here. That someone was probably Linda. She saw Eric last Christmas. You really didn't recognize your own brother-in-law? The room went silent. Eric and Jason quietly set down their glasses. Mark awkwardly backed toward the door. I'll wait outside, he said softly and slipped out, leaving Alex standing in the middle of a mess of his own making. Hannah shook her head, stepping away from him. Do you trust me at all? Alex wanted to answer. To explain the whirlwind of panic and suspicion. But all he could do was stand there, the weight of guilt sinking into his chest. And somewhere across the street, behind twitching curtains, Linda watched it all unfold. Alex stood in the center of the living room like an unwanted intruder in his own home. His badge meant nothing here. His training, his instincts, the authority he carried so confidently every day, it all collapsed in the face of one terrible truth. He had doubted the woman he loved. Hannah was pacing now, her arms crossed tightly, her face pale. Eric and Jason had retreated into the kitchen, their voices hushed, giving the couple space they weren't sure was deserved. Alex reached out. Hannah, please. I didn't know they were your brothers. Linda, she said. Oh, Linda. Hannah cut him off sharply. Of course. The neighborhood spy. She sees a shadow and thinks it's a break-in. You actually acted on her paranoia? She said you let 2 strange men in? She sounded scared. No, Alex. You sounded scared. You let your own insecurity spiral out of control, and you brought it into our home, with a weapon. Her voice cracked at the last word. Alex looked down at the sidearm still holstered at his hip. He felt sick. I was trying to protect you, he said quietly. From my family? She snapped. From a birthday surprise? How exactly was this supposed to go? Kick down the door and drag me out like a criminal? Her words cut deep, but Alex didn't flinch. He deserved every one of them. I didn't recognize them, he said. It's been years since I saw Eric. Jason's grown a beard. And God, Hannah, I didn't even know it was your birthday. That last sentence hit harder than either of them expected. Hannah turned away, wiping her eyes. I stayed home tonight, she whispered, because I knew you'd forget. I told my brothers to come help me celebrate anyway. I thought maybe if you walked in and saw them, saw the effort, it'd remind you who I am to you. Her voice trembled, fragile and exposed. But instead, you showed up with a gun. Silence. Alex took a step forward. I've been distant. I know that. Work's been a mess, and I've been taking it home. But I never stopped trusting you. You did, she said, her back still to him. The moment you called for backup. Outside, Mark waited beside the cruiser, leaning on the hood, clearly uncomfortable. The neighbors had gone quiet, but Alex knew the eyes were still watching. Cedar Heights was the kind of town where a misplaced trash bin made the local Facebook group. This would be gossip for months. Eric returned to the room, his voice calm but firm. We're heading to the hotel. Hannah needs space. Jason followed, his expression unreadable, but his jaw clenched in quiet judgment. As they left, Alex stepped aside, unable to meet their eyes. Hannah walked them to the door, hugged them tightly, and closed it behind them. She didn't say a word. Alex stood by the fireplace, his mind spinning. How had this spiraled so fast? How had Linda's voice carried more weight than his wife's years of loyalty? I need time, Hannah finally said, her voice flat. Alex nodded slowly. I'll give you that. He turned, walked out the front door, and joined Mark by the cruiser. You all right? Mark asked gently. No, Alex replied. I blew it. Mark didn't respond. He didn't need to. Across the street, Linda's porch light blinked off. Behind the door he'd barged through in fury and fear. His marriage was hanging by a thread. And this time, no amount of training could help him fix it. The next morning, Alex woke on the worn leather couch at the precinct, back stiff and eyes raw from a sleepless night. The fluorescent lights above buzzed quietly, a dull hum that somehow made everything feel worse. He hadn't gone home. Not after the look Hannah gave him as she closed the door in his face. It wasn't anger, it was disappointment. And that stung more than any shouting match could have. As he scrolled through his phone, he saw the missed call from his mother, a birthday reminder. Of course. Hannah's birthday. He hadn't just forgotten. He'd weaponized his suspicion on a night that should have been hers. He rubbed his temples and stared at the screen. No text from Hannah. No messages from anyone. Just silence. That silence followed him all day, through briefings, patrols, lunch breaks. When Mark asked how things were, Alex just shook his head. Even the usual banter between officers didn't land. That evening, as the sun began to dip low, casting amber light across the station parking lot, Alex knew he couldn't avoid it any longer. He had to face her. The house was quiet when he pulled up. Her car was still there. The porch light was off. He knocked softly, this time with nothing but open hands. Hannah opened the door slowly, leaning on the frame. She wore one of his old hoodies, the one she always used to steal when she was cold. But her face was distant. Guarded. I didn't come to argue, Alex said quietly. Just to talk. If you'll let me. She stepped aside. 10 minutes. The living room looked the same, but it felt colder now. Like the warmth had left with her trust. Alex sat on the edge of the couch. Hannah remained standing. I've been a cop for 12 years, he began. I've seen people lie to each other so often that sometimes, I forget not everyone does. And I think that part of me, this paranoid, hardened version, started to bleed into us. Hannah didn't interrupt. I shouldn't have believed Linda. I shouldn't have come here the way I did. You didn't deserve that. Neither did your brothers. Hell, I don't even know if I deserve to sit here now. Still, she said nothing. But I need you to know this, I never stopped loving you. I got scared. Not of what you were doing, but of what I thought I was losing. She finally looked at him. Really looked. I've been walking on eggshells with you for months, Alex, she said. Every time I reached for you, you pulled further away. I tried to understand. I blamed the job. The stress. I thought maybe if I just kept loving you hard enough, you'd come back. Her voice cracked. But last night, you didn't just doubt me, you treated me like a suspect. He nodded slowly, shame tightening his chest. I know, he whispered. And if it means anything, I'm sorry. Not the kind of sorry you say to smooth things over. The kind that means I'll do the work to be better. Even if you don't take me back. She sat finally, across from him. Do you want to save this? She asked, eyes searching his. With everything I've got. A long pause. Then Hannah reached into the side drawer of the coffee table and pulled out a manila envelope. She slid it to him. Inside were 3 printed therapy referrals, each with appointment times circled. I already booked the first one for you, she said. Individual, not couples. You need to fix what's broken inside you before we tried to fix us. Alex stared at the papers, heart pounding. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet. But it was something far more important. A chance. He looked up, tears threatening. Thank you, he whispered. She didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. As he stood to leave, she added, Next year, don't forget my birthday. I don't need roses or jewelry. I need you to remember I matter. You do, he said, hand on the doorknob. More than anything. And as he stepped out into the cool night, he realized something simple, painful, and honest. Love isn't just about protecting someone from the world. Sometimes it's about protecting them from your own fears, and trusting them to stay, even when it's hard.